Welcome back to another explainer. Today we are taking a really fascinating and entirely neutral look into a highly controversial esoteric text by Ryuho Okawa. This was recorded back on January 13, 2021, and it's called Zoroaster, How to Fight the Dark God of the Universe. Now, what makes this text so absolutely compelling from a sociological standpoint is how it attempts to bridge these ancient mystical concepts of spiritual dualism with very real, very modern global crises. We're going to map out exactly how the author constructs this argument, looking directly at the source material to understand just how some new religious movements are interpreting geopolitics today.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to follow the book's narrative arc, moving from a massive cosmic problem identified in the preface all the way to a proposed survival solution in the afterword. We'll start with the pioneer of dualism, move on to cosmic dark forces today, then look at the blindness of material science, examine the claims around COVID-19 and media deception, and finish up with an urgent survival guide.
Section 1. The Pioneer of Dualism. Ancient Warnings for Modern Times. So, the entire foundation of this text is built upon a spiritual warning found right in the preface. The text allegedly channels the ancient prophet Zoroaster to deliver a message about our modern times. For those who might not know, Zoroaster is a massive historical figure whose teachings heavily influenced major global religions, while the text leverages that historical weight to set the stage for this epic cosmic battle. The author is basically using this ancient voice to establish a stark contrast that ends up framing every single argument made in the rest of the book.
To truly grasp the framework this book is using, we have to talk about dualism. Think of it as the religious and philosophical belief in two fundamental opposing forces. Good versus evil or light versus dark. The text essentially uses this binary lens to categorize literally all modern global affairs. Every political move, every tech advancement, every single crisis, it's all placed on one side of this cosmic scale.
Section 2. Cosmic Dark Forces Today. Ahriman's Return.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how an esoteric philosophy from thousands of years ago, it's applied to our modern geopolitical landscape today. As we can see from the table of contents, the text resurrects the ancient dark god known as Ahriman, and it maps this entity's interventions directly onto modern totalitarian regimes and dictatorships. It's a fascinating structural choice, taking a recognizable historical evil from Zoroastrianism and using it to explain the rise of contemporary authoritarianism.
The text argues that global conflicts are not merely political or economic disagreements. No, it frames them as literal spiritual wars. The author claims that dark cosmic entities and alien walk-ins, which are essentially extraterrestrial spirits that occupy human bodies, are actively influencing world leaders. By framing international relations this way, the text is attempting to give its readers a hidden, spiritual explanation for all those chaotic headlines we see in the news every day.
Section 3. Blindness of Material Science, the Modern Vulnerability.
So, if humanity is under attack by these cosmic forces, why are we so vulnerable to them? To diagnose this modern weakness, the author heavily critiques modern society. The text establishes this sharp contrast between spiritual awakening, representing the light, and materialistic science, which it tightly aligns with the darkness. According to the text, a pure reliance on the material world creates a kind of blindness. Because modern humans only believe in what they can see and touch, they are completely unaware of the spiritual manipulation happening right behind the scenes.
And the text gets highly specific about this, pointing its finger directly at modern tech monopolies like GAFA. That's Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon. The book views our society's over-reliance on these scientific and tech giants not just as an economic monopoly or, a privacy issue. It views it as a deliberate spiritual trap set by those dark forces to control human perception. There's a translated quote here that perfectly summarizes the core of the book's diagnosis. It reads, "If you limit yourself only to this world, you can manipulate things, but you end up creating a structure where you are controlled by those with more convenient power." The crucial point the author is making here is that materialism strips humans of their true spiritual agency. It leaves them wide open to being manipulated by whoever controls the flow of information.
Section 4. COVID-19 and Media Deception. The Crisis Unfolds.
This theoretical framework leads us right into the concrete events of its time, specifically some highly controversial claims made in the afterword of the book. So how does an esoteric text about cosmic gods and ancient prophets explain a very real, very modern global pandemic? It bridges the abstract spiritual concepts we were just talking about directly into the geopolitical crisis of 2020 and 2021, using the pandemic as the ultimate proof of its theories.
The text makes several distinct and, again, highly controversial claims here. It alleges widespread media deception regarding the virus's origins, it jumps into the debate of natural occurrence versus bioweapon theories, it heavily criticizes the World Health Organization's investigations, and it claims that U.S. media narratives, especially surrounding the U.S. election, were actively masking the truth. The book frames the entire pandemic not just as a global health crisis, but as a direct manifestation of that cosmic battle between light and dark, with the media acting as literal agents of deception.
And this brilliantly illustrates how the Afterword explicitly names the Wuhan origins, the WHO, and the media's treatment of the U.S. election. According to the text, the world's sheer inability to see the supposed truth behind these events is the ultimate, undeniable proof of that materialistic blindness it was warning us about earlier.
Section 5. An Urgent Survival Guide. The book's ultimate purpose.
Having laid out a pretty dire diagnosis of global affairs, the text finally pivots to a proposed solution for the reader. Because, despite the heavy focus on dark gods and global conspiracies, the book ultimately positions itself as a beacon of light. The text details how benevolent cosmic beings are actively offering guidance amidst the corona crisis. The author presents this channeled wisdom as a direct lifeline for humanity, a way to actually navigate the surrounding turmoil.
Ultimately, the main takeaway here is that the book functions as a spiritual survival manual. By utilizing the ancient framework of Zoroastrian dualism, the author is providing readers with a highly structured way to make sense of a world that feels completely overwhelming and chaotic. It offers a paradigm where breaking free from materialism isn't just a personal choice, it's framed as the ultimate victory against global totalitarianism. Which leaves us with a truly fascinating sociological question, right? As our global crises, whether we're talking pandemics, technology, or geopolitics, grow increasingly complex and difficult to understand, will we see more modern movements turning to the stark simplicity of ancient cosmic battles for their answers? It is a profound dynamic to observe. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into how esoteric texts map our modern world. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.